Hey everyone, hope you're well. Today it's Guitar Riff Battle Royal 1978, about a month and a half late. Sorry about that. Took a solid month to focus on nothing but David Gilmour during David Gilmour month here on my channel, and kind of let everything else go on the back burner for a bit. But we're back and ready to go and ready to do some classic rock riffing again. Now, for the uninitiated, here's what we're doing. We're going to have a playthrough and a bit of a discussion of the top 10 rock, hard rock, and metal guitar riffs from the year 1978, according to me. And you guys can drop a vote for your favorite down in the comments section, and in a few weeks when we have a look at the year 1979, we'll announce our winner. Simple. And speaking of announcing winners, I've yet to determine the winner from my last video in this series from the year 1977. So let's get on that right now. The winner of Riff Battle 1977 may come as a bit of a surprise, as it's one of the lesser high-profile riffs from that year. Bit of a dark horse, if you will. A number of people voted for this riff after hearing it for the very first time. It's that good. It's from Uli Jon Roth and the Scorpions from the band's 1977 album Taken by Force, his last studio effort with the band before departing. This is a very unique and cleverly built riff, and in my opinion, well deserving of its win. Plus, the bloody guitar solo in this one that follows the main opening riff is simply one of the greatest guitar solos of all time. So let's give this riff and a bit of the solo a listen before moving on to our 1978 Riff Battle festivities. This is The Sails of Charon by Uli Jon Roth and the Scorpions as our 1977 Riff Battle winner. Great goddamn riff that is. Good choice, people. Alright then, 1978, and with the arrival of 1978, we of course have the arrival of the mighty Van Halen, and one of the greatest and most creative riff masters to ever strap on a guitar, the late, great Eddie Van Halen, to say absolutely nothing of his incredible soloing prowess. Van Halen's debut album, it goes without saying, was a huge game changer in hard rock music upon its arrival onto the music scene, or should I say its explosion onto the music scene in 1978. It's just one solid riff after another throughout its 11-track, 35-minute runtime. I honestly could have chosen 7 or 8 different riffs to include on this list from that album. However, I went with the most famous of the bunch because it's simply quintessential Eddie Van Halen. This is contender number 1. This is Ain't Talking About Love from the great Eddie Van Halen and Van Halen.
Something you need. Oh yeah, not talking about love.
All right then, onward to contender number 2, and one of my absolute favorite rock and roll personalities of all time, and a fellow who is also responsible for my favorite guitar riff of all time, the opening riff to Funk 49 by the James Gang. That man is Joe Walsh, and he's churned out a number of awesome riffs over the years, including the aforementioned Funk 49, Walk Away, Life in the Fast Lane, and In the City from his time with the Eagles, Rocky Mountain Way, amongst numerous other great riffs. This playful this riff, and super cool, from 1978, certainly stands out, however, and stems from one of Joe's biggest ever solo hits, Life's Been Good. I urge you to do yourself a favor and check out a video on YouTube entitled Joe Walsh, Life's Been Good, Live Spoken Word, wherein he breaks down this song and the riff in the most hilarious manner possible. It's well worth the watch. But for now, let's check out the riff to Life's Been Good as our 1978 contender number 2. Good then, for contender number 3, we have a tie, our first tie on any of these lists. Two rather simple and somewhat similar, yet perfect power chord riffs from two very different bands. The first stems from one of my favorite classic rock tracks from British band Sweet, or The Sweet. Not really one of the more high-profile tracks, though it did chart reasonably well around the world upon release. It's a bit on the lightweight side of things, almost got a bit of a disco vibe to it, but I like it nonetheless. Plus it's got a killer riff and hook, thus its inclusion. The other classic power chord riff from 1978 in this position, tied with The Sweet, is one that absolutely floored this 14-year-old kid when I first heard it. This track starts off with a little light piano, but when the riff drops after a few seconds, it comes in like a thunderclap, giving this track almost a heavy metal feel to it for a moment, a genre that this band is generally not associated with at all. The band I speak of is Toto, and the riff I speak of is the killer riff from Hold the Line with the great Steve Lukather. Let's give it a listen, along with the aforementioned riff from The Sweet, both tied as my contender number 3. Contender number 4. Now, it goes without saying that Angus and Malcolm Young of AC/DC created some of the most iconic and memorable guitar riffs in the entirety of rock and roll history. And of them all, this one is my favorite. I seriously don't know why this one doesn't get mentioned more in the pantheon of killer AC/DC riffs over the years. It's so bloody good that they named the actual song after it and kept playing it for over a minute and a half before Bon Scott even starts singing. They certainly knew that they had a killer hook with this one and milked it for all it's worth. And rightly so. This is my contender number 4. This is AC/DC and Riff Raff. Alright then, moving forward with contender number 5, and once again, Alex Lifeson of Rush is getting in on the action. This fantastic riff is somewhat of the driving force of what is a much longer instrumental, with that instrumental being the incredible 9-minute long La Villa Strangiato from the band's 1978 offering, Hemispheres. Now, despite being an instrumental, La Villa Strangiato tells a complete story, complete with plot and characters, based on a series of nightmares that Alex Lifeson was having at the time. Drummer Neil Peart once stated that the band spent more time working on this one track than they did on the entire Fly By Night album a few years earlier. Regardless, let's give a listen to the main riff of La Villa Strangiato from Alex Lifeson and Rush as my pick at number 5. Contender number 6, and we're staying in Canada for back-to-back Canadian riffs. This time with Miles Goodwin and Canadian rock icons April Wine. Finding little international success outside of Canada throughout the 70s and 80s, April Wine were a mainstay on rock and pop radio in Canada during this period and filled arenas from coast to coast during their peak. I saw them, I think, 5 times when I was a teenager. This scorcher of a track did garner the band a bit of international attention, and rightly so, as it's a very tightly crafted and catchy as hell rocker with an opening Mixolydian riff that is nothing short of earworm. Sadly, it only lasts for about 15 seconds before settling into more traditional power chord groove, but while it lasts, it absolutely kills, and it's really tricky to play. Simply one of my favorite guitar riffs of all time. This is Roller by April Wine as my pick at number 6. Contender number 7. Now this one's a bit of a cheat, as it's a cover from a band in 1978, that band being metal icons Judas Priest, to a track that was originally written in 1971 by Peter Green and Fleetwood Mac. I could have included this one on my list from 1971, but I didn't. However, now it's getting the nod for a couple of reasons. It's a riff and track that I performed in a band in Toronto many, many years ago, and it's the song that got me the gig when I first auditioned, so it means a little something to me. Plus, Judas Priest took what was somewhat of a psychedelic bluesy rock number from Peter Green and Fleetwood Mac and metalized the hell out of it, and in the process gave the riff a whole lot more bite and ferocity than it initially had. This is the Green Manalishi from Priest's 1978 Metal Machine album as Contender number 7. Right then, contender number 8, Tom Scholz and Boston are back in the game again here. Probably for the last time, however, as I can't think of any memorable or standout riffs after this one in particular. This is the opening riff from and the title track of their second album, 1978's Don't Look Back. While the track, Don't Look Back, was one of Boston's biggest hits, and indeed has a smokin' opening guitar riff, the album itself was roundly criticized as being far too derivative of the band's first album. A bit of an unfair criticism, in my opinion. Boston's sound was so polished, overproduced, but not in a bad way, and unique that it was damned hard for them not to sound like themselves without a major shift in style. And why, pray tell, would they do that? They had just had massive success with that sound and style on their debut album just 2 years earlier. Why change what isn't broken? Don't Look Back wouldn't have the string of hits and memorable songs that the debut produced, but it's a damn fine classic rock album that opens with one of Boston's finest opening riffs. Let's give it a listen. On to Contender number 9. This riff doesn't make an appearance until about the 1 minute 15 second mark of the track. However, it's one of the most recognizable and famous rock guitar riffs in history. We're talking about the riff to Sultans of Swing by Mark Knopfler and Dire Straits. This is a riff that the guitar itself that it was played on made all the difference in the world to it becoming the fantastic riff that we all know and love to this day. Originally composed on a National Steel resonator guitar, Mark felt that the riff was just dull and just wasn't popping the way that he wanted it to. That was until he switched the whole thing over to a Fender Stratocaster, and voila, guitar tone perfection. And the rest is history. This is my Contender number 9 in Riff Battle 1978 with the opening to Sultans of Swing. Be patient, the riff will arrive eventually. Not like you don't know it already. Let's check it out.
Get a shiver in the dark, it's raining in the park, but meantime sound of the river, you stop and you hold everything. A band is blowing Dixie, double fall time. You feel alright when you hear the music ring. Well, now you step inside, but you don't see too many faces. Coming in out of the rain, they hear the jazz go down. Competition in other places, but the horns, they blowing that sound. Way on down south, way on down south, London town. Check out Guitar George, he knows all the chords. it's strictly rhythm.
Contender number 10. For contender number 10, we're going to finish up with the great Brian May and Queen with a track from the band's 1978 Jazz album, and arguably its most famous track. In rare drop D tuning for Brian May, it's one of the raunchiest riffs ever laid down by this guitar legend. A raunchy riff for a raunchy track. And of course, we can only be talking about the band's classic Fat Bottom Girls. If the band was going for a bit of the old shock value on this album, it certainly worked on this 14-year-old kid. Songs about fat bottom girls and a full poster of naked girls on bicycles held within its inner record sleeve. It all felt very naughty at the time. All quite controversial at the time as well, if I remember correctly. Great fun. Regardless, let's give her a playthrough. This is Fat Bottom Girls from Brian May and Queen, closing things out at number 10.
Oh, you're gonna take me home tonight. Oh, down beside that red firelight. Oh, you're gonna let it all hang out. Fat bottom girls, you make the rockin' world go round.
All right then, what did I miss? I'm sure I missed a few of your favorites, but you know, as I always say, my channel, my list. I certainly hope you enjoyed that, as I had great fun learning all these classic guitar riffs and putting this video together. Hit me up with a subscribe if you haven't done that already. That would be awfully nice. Hit that notification bell as well so you know when I upload something new to my channel. And don't forget to please drop a vote for your favorite down below in the comments section. And in a few weeks, we'll tally them up and pick a winner when we have a look at the year 1979. Thanks as always for watching and supporting my channel, and for those of you who support me on Patreon, an extra thank you. It means a hell of a lot to me. I hope you're well out there in your little guitar corner of the world, wherever that may be, and we'll see you next time. Cheers.